I love all my children the same, but I do love some of them a little bit more than others. Founder Tolbert Pan Grahe was last on the show in August 5th, 2024. That's episode 1989 if you want to go back and look it up. Now, since then, the market for AI data has changed. While we previously spent a lot of our time considering IP rights for data used to train AI models, in 2025, we are seeing user-led AI search queries rise in volume. In other words, the rise of AI bot traffic is straining publishers and other website owners and may demand a new method of monetization for the entire web. Now, if Tolbert wins its market, it could become a truly enormous and very valuable company. But it does face stiff competition from other startups and a raft of wealthy companies that would rather pay nothing for access to information that their AI bots and tools require to operate. Now, to help us untangle the current state of AI data licensing, please welcome Tolbert back to the show. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, Alex, how's it going? Thanks for having
I'm
me
doing
on.
okay. I only made like 3 mistakes in that intro. I'm proud of myself. That's higher than my usual standard. All right, so it's been about a year. You and I have emailed back and forth about a couple of things here and there, but I think the most important thing, Toast, to start is to explain to people the difference between an AI training scrape and what's going on in the world of RAG. I think that'll give us a good foundation. So could you start there, please?
Yeah, certainly. So training is the process by which we teach these models how to make sense of the world and then how to output an answer and sound human, right? And oftentimes training is there's a few large companies that are training these what are called foundational models. And the data access oftentimes for training might be one time. However, the reason RAG is different is because that represents RAG stands for retrieval augmented generation. It's just a fancy way of saying that when you ask Search GPT a question, when you ask Perplexity a question, when you ask U.com a question, it has to go out, it has to read the web, load those articles into context so that it can intelligently answer a question. So training is this sort of like one-time access to sort of train the underlying model, whereas RAG, retrieval, output, is fetching that article every single time so that it can be loaded into context so that it can actually make sure that it's answering your question accurately and not hallucinating and making mistakes.
Now, this often comes up, RAG, in a search context, because if you're searching for something, you want the most recent information. AI models are trained at a certain period of time, and if you want to have more recent information, you have to go out there and get it. Is that the only time in which we see RAG scrapes come into play, or are there other instances of use for RAG that we should also keep in mind as we talk?
Yeah, I think there sort of, if you look at the development of AI over the last 2 years, right, there's turned out to be a few foundational model companies. Then on top of those, you have degrees of magnitude more applications that are made, right? So you take a model, you take a few models, you package them together, and you build a new application out of it, right? So think of Cursor, right? Think of Perplexity, right? Those are good examples of applications. There's not much training happening there. That's more about the retrieval, right? And a lot of them do focus around the either AI coding or say search use cases. Now, this year, what you've seen is this sort of explosion in agents, right?
Yeah.
So especially enterprise agents. And when you hear the word agent, that is all RAG, because the agent needs to, when you're automating something, it needs to go out, it needs to go read your email, it needs to automate a text message, it needs to go read your internal files. That's all retrieval.
But when we think about RAG in the context of an AI data marketplace, like what Tolbert is building, we're thinking a lot about search and then when AI agents interact with the open web versus an internal database, for example.
Yes, and it doesn't need to be an internal database, right? There's quite a few of these sort of agentic workflows, right, that still need access to research reports, right? Premium data sources, things that are behind a paywall, right? I'm not sure if you've used, I think a few weeks ago, OpenAI introduced that agent mode into ChatGPT.